Hello everyone, happy Halloween! I'm here with a handful of beautiful A flutes to show you. If you receive our newsletter, then you know that we did a feature newsletter on the key of A with some information about this key. But just to reiterate some of that information, the key of A is one of our smallest flutes, so it's also one of our easiest flutes to play. Part of the reason for that is that the distance from the mouth end to the first fingering hole is shorter than a lower flute, so you don't have to reach as far down, but also the fingering hole placement is further up on the flute body, and the fingering holes are spaced pretty close together, which makes this a really wonderful key for new flute players. But it's not necessarily only for new flute players, because a lot of people who are musicians or just have a big flute collection really love this key too. It has a little bit more of a cheerful voice than some of the other flutes that have maybe a little bit of a mournful voice. So if you enjoy playing more upbeat music, this might be a really wonderful key. I also feel like the close finger hole spacing allows me to do a little bit of kind of faster finger work on the flute, which is really fun and different feeling from some of the bigger flutes where I have to actually think about where my fingers are and think about that reach and setting my finger down in the right place. I don't feel like I have to do that as much on the A, so they're just a little bit more responsive and playful than a lower flute. So let's take a look. Of course, I've got one of my prettiest ones here. This is a Spalted maple A. Let's take a look. Let's see if I can get my camera to focus. It's kind of bright out here. Bright and cloudy. So it has that beautiful tigery pattern that shifts and changes in the light, but it also has these darker lines like here. This is actually a pattern that's caused by mycelium, which is like mushroom roots, or however you want to put that. That's really not what they are exactly, but actually gets into the wood and starts to decay the wood. But we get the wood before it's actually started to get soft at all, and it just looks beautiful and colorful like this. So normally maple would be a bright white color, and this has got a lot more of a rosy color and just like this lovely texture and pattern to it. So let's take a quick listen, and you'll have to excuse the constant sound of leaf blowers, because that's just what you hear this time of year when you go outside, is people blowing the leaves off their yard. I don't know if you can hear that in the video, but I sure can. This one has such a mellow voice for such a hard wood, and I really like that kind of smoky, breathy quality to the voice. It's a little less sharp on the ears. I'm going to leave a link to all of these flutes in the order that I'm playing them down in the description. So if you see a flute, if you're watching this on YouTube and you see a flute that you love, just scroll down, and in the description you'll find a link to the page where you can read more about the flute and see pictures, close-ups of the flute, and then also there's going to be a longer format video of me playing just that flute on that page. So definitely check that out. Let me grab another one. This is made out of hemlock. Hemlock is a wood that's very similar in density to Douglas fir. There, you can kind of see the grain. It's a little bit lighter in color, but it actually looks very similar to Douglas fir. So kind of a medium density wood. Technically it is a softwood, but it has a lot of the characteristics of both a soft and a hardwood flute. So really good voice on Hemlock flutes. So it actually even has a little bit more of like a crisp voice than the hardwood flute I just played. Hemlock is quickly becoming one of my favorite woods for making flutes out of. It's kind of simplistic when you look at it. It's a lighter color. A lot of people prefer like a darker colored wood, but I think it's a really beautiful wood for flutes. Here is one that is a little darker. This is a western red cedar. And this particular piece of wood had bug holes in it that we filled with turquoise. So if you are somebody that really likes bug holes in flutes or just like interesting characteristics in flutes, this one is for you. I think it looks so cool. And I tried to make the decoration match the fill. That has such a nice voice. Cedar is a softwood. It tends to have a little bit more resonance in the voice. So a resonance is like a vibration that you can actually feel in the body of the flute as you're playing. Cedar is one of my all-time favorite woods for flutes. A lot of people think that lightweight woods are cheap. That's not the case. Actually, a lot of musical instruments are made out of softer woods because of the quality it adds to the voice of the flute. So this is a beautiful, oh, I grabbed a G here. We'll show it anyway. This is a beautiful curly maple G flute. A little different than the A, but I just happened to pick it up. This one's also going on the website, so if you want something in a little bit of a lower key, let's actually take this opportunity to compare the fingerhole spacing. So the G, oh, also both the same kind of wood, so you can really see how much that mycelium getting into the wood darkens it and adds like a color to it, because maple has a tendency to be like this bright white color. So maple can look all different ways. So in order to compare the size of the flute, I want to align them up at the fipple holes, or the sound holes here, because that is where all the fingering holes are measured from. So you can see, okay, let me see if I can grab these in such a way that you can see the fingering holes. Look at how much like smaller the A is in comparison to the G. So the fingering holes are a lot higher up on the flute and a lot closer together than they are on the G. And then of course this spacing from the first hole to the mouth end is a lot further up on the A, which is another reason that it's easier to reach those fingering holes. So let's listen to that G really quick. So G is a whole step lower than an A. It does give it a little bit more of that mournful quality, which a lot of people are seeking, but again, I really love how cheerful the A flutes are. This one is made out of Alaskan yellow cedar, and I don't know if it shows up. It looks very kind of washed out to me on the video here, but it's quite yellow. It's like a pale lemon yellow color. This wood has a slightly aromatic smell. You can smell it even through the varnish because it is a very strong smelling wood when it's raw. This one does have a little bit of a visible glue line, which happens with really, really light colored woods sometimes. That's just a little cosmetic thing that might bother some people. And some people might think it's a crack, but this is actually the seam of the flute. So they're milled in half and then bored out because there's a chamber in here that's not connected to everything else, and then they're glued back together. And if you're worried that the glue seam is a weak part of the flute, I assure you that every flute that I've ever worked with that's been stepped on or crushed has broken somewhere other than the glue seam, so they're actually a pretty strong part of the flute. Let's listen to this one. So that has just a nice warm quality to the voice. Alaskan cedar is a softwood, but it's a very dense grained softwood. So it's quite a lot different feeling to hold and to play than a western red cedar flute. The grain on this is so tight that it almost looks like it's like a uniform color without any grain pattern at all. Last but not least, by any means, is this beautiful bird's eye maple. This wood is the same kind of wood as the first flute that I showed. It's also the same kind of wood as this G that I accidentally happened to bring out here. So all three, these are exactly the same kind of wood. They're hard rock maple, I think is the right term for the tree. This is a very, very hard wood. Bright, brilliant, shimmering white color to the wood, and of course this one has the little dapples, which are called bird's eyes for some reason. I guess some people think they look like bird's eyes. I think they kind of look like raindrops on water. And this flute is a book-matched flute, which means that it was milled out of a piece of wood that was like this, and then it was folded like that, which makes a mirrored pattern along the front and a back that, if you look closely, you can tell that it doesn't exactly match. This is just a woodworking technique that people use to make the beautiful mirrored pattern along the front, and I think you can barely tell that it's mismatched in the back. Actually, you'd have to really know to look for it. So let's listen to this one. So it has a clearer and a little bit of a louder sound to the voice, which is because of that really hard wood. So I don't know that I have a favorite this time. I actually really loved the western red cedar with the little bug holes in there, because I just think that's such a cool feature, and cedar is just a wonderful wood for flutes. And honestly, voice-wise, the Hemlock might be my next favorite. So sometimes it's not the most expensive flute that I am drawn to. Sometimes it's just a cedar flute or a Hemlock flute or something like that. I think when you listen to the flutes, you'll probably hear one that sounds better to you, and sound is something that's like, everybody's got their own personal preference, what they're looking for. Some people want a really like breathy sounding flute. Some people want a really crisp sounding flute. Some people want a quiet, mellow flute. Some people want a loud flute. Leave me a comment below which one was your favorite. I'm always curious to hear what people like, and leave me a comment what kind of voice you look for in a native flute. As always, I love doing these videos, and I hope everybody is having a fun Halloween. If you have little ones and you get to go out trick-or-treating, enjoy and be safe out there. And if you feel like emailing me a picture of your costume, I would love to see it. Support at stellarflutes.com. Have a wonderful weekend, guys.